دوستان عزیز، پلیر هاوسینگ، خونه سازی، الان یک اطلاعات جدید اومده از سمت پریش گیمینگ و ایشون خب یک یوتوبر و باز خیلی MMO باز معروفه و میخوام بهتون توضیح بدم این سری مسائلو و یه چند نفر تست کردن و مخصوصا پریش که خیلی آدم منتقدی هم هست داره میگه این از اونی که فکر میکردیم بهتره و میگه بهترین پلیر هاوسینگیه که توی تمام بازی‌ها ساختن و میخوایم ببینیم ویدیوشو. و پلیر هاوسینگ هم برای کسایی که نمیدونن خیلی خیلی کویک سریع من این تیزر رو براتون پخش میکنم، یک چند تا اینفو کوچیک بهتون میدم بعد ببینید، چون من همیشه اینو در نظر میگیرم یه سری پلیرها مثلا ویورای تازه ما هستن نمیشناسن نمیدونن. دوستان عزیز، هوم سویم هوم. World of Warkرفت میدنایت. دوستان عزیز، اکسپنشن بعدی توی حماسه روی دنیا میدنایته و بلیزارد یه تیزری داد که ما قرار بریم خونه. 21 سال World of Warkرفت اومده، از خیلیاتون بزرگتره. همیشه خب خونه خودشون میدونستن مردم World of Warkرفت، باش بزرگ شدن، زندگی کردن، حتی آشنا شدن. ما 2 تا استریمر داریم، حمید و سایه، دوستای من هم هستن، اونا با وو با هم آشنا شدن. خیلی بازی جالبیه. خلاصه بهتون بگم که وو خونه آدمه، ولی فرض کن واقعا توی وو بتونی خونه داشته باشی. بلیزارد این ایدهشو داشت، ولی چون که انقدر پروژه مهمیه و وو پدر همه MMO های دنیاه، سالها دارن روش کار میکنن، نزدیک 6 سال دارن کار میکنن، یه تیم 100 نفره دارن روش کار میکنن. یعنی پس چقدر براش وقت و ارزش گذاشتن. و خب این تیزرش ریویل شد و طی مدت هم اطلاعات دیگه ای از پلیر هاوسینگ ما اینا رو بررسی کردیم در رابطه با ایده های فلسفه. 3 تا کور فلسفه داره. پروگرسیو جورنی یعنی چیزی که قراره بمونه واسمون، قرار نیست فقط برای این اکسپنشن باشه، یعنی بیسشو میسازیم و همین جوری لایه‌هاشو توی جنرال بازی تعبیه میکنیم و خیلی چیزا خیلی بزرگه، یعنی و کاملا قابل دکوراسیون، فول کاستمایزبل، هر چقدر دوست داری میتونی کاستمایزش بکنی و دکوراسیون عجیب غریبی داره. مثلا اخیراً راجع به دکورش به ما توضیح دادن که مثلا هینت میدن که مثلا دکور رو میتونیم از رپوتیشن ها، از اچیومنت ها، از دانجن، از چیزای گذشته، یعنی مال مخصوص میدنایت نیست، مخصوص جهان وارکرافت، یعنی جهان وارکرافت قراره هاوس داشته باشه، نه اکسپنشن میدنایت. مثلا اینجا داره اچیومنت اونکسیار نشون میده که کله اونکسیار اینجا چپوندن و حتی پروفشن، شاید پروفشن چوببری و بلیزارد به خاطر این اضافه بکنه، چون مثلا نکنین آیرون وود لامبر شما سرچ کنید تو گوگل، منم سرچ کردم نداریم همچین چیزی تو ورلد اف وارکرافت، ولی الان یه چیزی داریم به اسم آیرون وود لامبر و چوبه. شاید بلیزارد، من دارم میگم اینو کلیپ بگیرید، شاید بلیزارد چوببری رو بسازه بیاره، من از الان پیش بینیشو میکنم. ولی فقط این نیست، میگم مثلا نمونه از دکوراسیون رو میبینید که بلیزارد داره نشون میده، جابجایی دکوراسیون به چه صورت، تمام وجه حالات اینجا دارید مشاهده میکنید. اینجا پنجره رو میبینید که چطور شما پنجره رو حتی نور هم داره، شما میتونید روی دودکش بذارید. پس دست ماست. بلیزارد گفته میخوای کریزی باشی برو کریزی شو، یا وسیله ها رو داره میچینه به هر شکلی که میخواد روی میز و این فقط به اینا گسترش نمیشه. یه تب بسیار بزرگی رو من نمیتونم چون کیفیتش پایینه، یه تب بسیار بزرگی رو بلیزارد داره اینجا نشون میده که این شما کالکت عظیمی میتونی داشته باشی و حتی میتونی میزتو بکنی تو در دیوار. پس دستتو آزاد گذاشته. بلیزارد گفته من اصلا میخوام دیوونه بشید شما، من میخوام هر کاری که دوست دارید بکنید، حتی روتیت نکنین، روتیت صندلی و میز رو مشخص بکنید، میتونی رو هوا اصلا بذاریش باشه. پس یه چیز عجیب غریبی رو طراحی کرده. همینجوری ما این تازه دکوراسیون و هینت اولیه‌شو داریم میبینیم. یعنی هینت اولیه دکوراسیونه و اناکو میتونی بچرخونیش یا کوچیکش کنی، بزرگش کنی، روتیشن و ریسایز کردن، میتونی کوچیکش کنی، بزرگش کنی. یعنی این تازه فقط یه ابجکتیوه. حتی رنگ بندی، تو میتونی رنگ مثلا پتوتو عوض بکنی، کالر بزنی و کالر چوب، کالر اینا رو عوض بکنی اونجور که دلت میخواد. پس بلیزارد با یه فضای عجیب و غریبی میخواد ما آشنا کنه و اینا کنید. حتی اتاقهای داخل بلیزارد گفته تا ماکسیموم 10 تا اتاق، یعنی ما خونه عادیمون دو خوابه است، تو میتونی 10 تا خواب داشته باشی و بیرون یارد هم داره، یعنی بیرون هم میتونی طراحی بکنی و اینا تازه چیزای اولیه بازیه و خیلی فلسفه. شما تمام این متنا رو خوندیم که بلیزارد چی فکر میکنه و یک سیستم خیلی بزرگ. بلیزارد داره میگه ما میخوایم یه کاری بکنیم که یه چیز داشته باشیم توی ورلد آف وارکرفت، حالا این عکسش امیدوارم باز بشه، به اسم نیبرهود، یعنی همسایگی. یعنی ما در همسایگی تعداد پلیر زیاد، مثلا 50 نفر در یک بخش نیبرهود هستیم. هورد آلاینس هم میتونن ویزیت بکنن هم دیگر رو، واربنده و یه حالت همسایگی داریم و یه حالت تاون و شهر داریم. مثلا گیلا و مثلا گیلا آرپی میتونه شهردار داشته باشن، با هم دیگه میتونیم شهرمون رو بزرگتر کنیم و نمای عکسایی هم از داخل به ما دادن. اینا خلاصه ایه که ما قبلا بررسیش کردیم و الان وقتشه که ویدیو پریچ رو با هم دیگه ببینیم. شاید خورده طول بکشه ولی ارزشش داره، چون دیروز که پریچن گذاشت 83,000 نفر دیدن فقط هم توی 24 ساعت اخیر.
They have been working on this for a really long time and it is way better than you think it's
میگه از اونی که فکر می‌کردین خیلی بهتره.
gonna be. Let's get into this.
از اونی که فکر می‌کنین خیلی بهتره.
I'm gonna quick fire a ton of stuff at you because I got to see a hell of a lot, but I want to preface this very quickly, so indulge me for 1 minute. This thing that I went to with Blizzard is not the usual thing we get to do. This was not a
چیزی نیست معمولی باشه.
marketing thing. We weren't allowed
مارکتینگ نبود.
to record. We did do some interviews, but a lot of it can't be used because the devs were very open about where the future and stuff is going, and we can't share that information, so we will have our interview on our other channel as much as we can possibly show you. This whole purpose was
این یه ایونتی بود توی میشیگان هم فکر کنم بود، آمریکا، ایونت پکس و 30 سالگی وارکرفت. اینا وارکرافت هم اونجا بخشی ازش بود.
that PAX was going on in Boston.
بوستون ببخشید.
They were having the WoW 30th anniversary event and they just asked, can some of you hang out for an extra day
موندن، چند روز اضافه موندن که اینو تست کنن.
in order to come and check this. You just happen to be in town, so please come and check out this thing. That was the whole purpose of it. It was off the books in terms of like being a big media event. It was nothing to do
نمیخواستن بقیه بفهمن، مدیا بفهمن.
with that. And it was dedicated to genuine proper feedback. In fact, only a couple of the people who went to this thing are pure dedicated WoW players. What they did do though was invite a bunch of people who have dealt with housing in other games. They had some very Final Fantasy 14.
کسایی که حتی فانال مثل این دختره و خودش میگه فانال فانتزی 14 بازی کردم دعوت کردم.
Focus people. Everybody was there for a specific reason. If you don't know because you only followed me for WoW stuff, I have held the largest Final Fantasy 14 housing events in the game over the last
میگه تو چند سال اخیر بزرگترین ایونت هاوسینگ توی خونم برگزار کردم تو فاینال فانتزی.
years. So that's why I was there to talk about the kind of events and things we can do. Everybody else had their own purpose. And we sat down and we talked with individual devs, the whole team who's working out of their Boston office who's been working on housing. We had like a UI dedicated person there who wanted negative feedback. They were very open of like, we get the praise. We want to hear where the problems are, where we
میگه ما تمجیدامونو گرفتیم. بلیزارد میگه میخوام مشکلات شما به ما بگید.
can improve it, what things you've dealt with in other games, all that kind of thing. This is the focus. WoW is going very classic here in terms of Blizzard. They have looked at everything and they're not shy about it either. They have looked at Valheim, Stardew Valley.
میگه رفتن بازیایی مثل والهایم و فانال فانتزی نگاه کردن، خجالت هم نمیکشن. یعنی میگه از قصد این کارو کردن، یعنی سریع به ما گفتن، ما رفتیم این گیم‌ها رو دیدیم و
they've looked at Final Fantasy 14, they've looked at WildStar, they've looked at Path of Exile. They've looked at all these games and they found what they like about it and then they've made it better. I'm just going to say it. They have. They've made it better. And that's where
میگه بهتر اینا رو ساختن.
Blizzard got its name from. They looked at what other games were doing. They like it. It's good. How do we take all that and then we make our own version which is superior? And
میگه ما یه چیز برتر بسازیم.
That is exactly what they've done. It's very classic. 2004 to 2010 Blizzard where they were
میگه کلاسیک بلیزارد مثل 2004 تا 2010.
So far ahead they were just making.
میگه مثل موقعی ساختن که اون موقع از بقیه جلوتر بودن رس افتادش که اینا. میگه الانم با این کارشون نگاه از بقیه جلوتر.
Stuff and it didn't quite work out in some cases.
ازش هم بعید نبود باید همچین کاری میکنن.
So with that said, I'm just going to quick fire through some stuff for you to get your answers out there, all right? I'm doing this in a nice numbered list for you guys. Number 1, these houses are like the TARDIS. For non-Doctor Who fans, that means that the outside of the house, which is something you can decorate, does not equate to what is inside of the house. If you want a one-room entryway with a sprawling vast church on the second floor, and then you want your third floor to turn into a 5-story tower jumping puzzle, you can do that. You could do
پشمام میگه مثلا میتونی ورودی تو مثل کلیسا بکنی با این همه در دیواراش بری توی تونل بعد اتاق بعدی تو از یه چیزی بری بالا برسی به جای دیگه.
Whatever the hell you want with the shape, the rooms, it doesn't matter. You want to build a giant room? Go ahead and do that. They come in like these preset things and you can just attach them to the side. Just have a button.
فقط همین دوتا عکس رو اجازه دادن بگیرن.
Say add another room. What do you want this to be? Do you want this to be a
پشمام رو هوا معلقه.
clock tower? Do you want it to be a double high?
یه میخواد شبیه برج ساعتی باشه.
Massive empty box? Do you want it to be a giant wide open octagon space? Go ahead.
می‌بینی اینا بچه‌ها اینا پلی هاوسینگه که نه اینکه بلیزارد میخواد اینو میخواد این تصویر داره به ما میگه که خیلی مهمه. ناکو داره آرتایی که توش به کار برده یعنی میخواد بگه این از تمام این دکورا میشه استفاده کرد. دکور چوبی، دکور شمع ساده، لامپ از همین آندرماین، این فلشه مال آندرماین، گوبلینی، هوردی، دیگه نمیدونم این مال زاندالاریاس، مال کولتراس داره میگه این مثلا مال دورفاس داره میگه که داره نمونه فقط میذاره میگه ببین از همه چی وجود داره یعنی مثلا شما میتونی استایل دورفی بری استایل مثلا آندری بری.
Just clap it on. It doesn't matter what's beneath it in any way so far. The limitation is really, are the rooms accessible? You can't just make a floating room off in the middle of nowhere that no one can get to. That you can't do.
میگه تو میتونی یه اتاق اصلا بسازی که هیچ کی نمیتونه واردش بشه فقط خودت میتونی بری مثلا یه جوری عجیب غریب طراحیش کنی.
But do you want to make a giant mega jumping puzzle?
پازل بسازی.
Sure. Do you want to make a giant maze? Sure. Do you want to make hidden rooms with secret doorways and passages?
در مثلا مخفی داشته باشه.
You could totally do that. The whole focus is freedom. Number 2.
تمام میگه هدفشون فریدمه.
Random blocks and things just floating in midair. Do you want a 200% scaled candlestick that shoots through the ceiling and looks like it's stabbing you in the face? Yep, go ahead and do that.
میگه 1000% کاستومایز فری همین جوره.
Talking to Jay Huang, who's been the art and prop guy for Blizzard for like over 15 years. He was literally doing demonstrations for us and he was like, I designed that table in like Mists of Pandaria that's here now. He was saying that
داشت میگفت مثلا یه میز رو تو پانداریا ساختیم مثلا این میزه رو میتونی اینجا استفاده کنی همه چی از همه نسخه ها هست.
They did a ton of research. In particular, Valheim came up again and they have a gravity system and it became very apparent.
Gravity system.
It's like, why are we bothering with gravity? Let's just not do
چرا با
that.
جاذبه خودمون رو اذیت کنیم؟ بذار هر کی هر کاری دوست داشت بکنه.
It's not fun. Players always find ways and means of trying to glitch things to get them in the right place. So let's just do away with that and have them put things wherever they want. If the player just wants random stuff because they're creating a magical Karazhan themed place.
مثلا میخوان یه کارازان مثل تاور کارازان جادویی بسازن همه چی تو هوا معلق باشه باشه.
Let them do it. It's fine. It doesn't matter whatsoever. Just let them go and do it. If you want to just the limitation around this, you want to push things through a wall, go ahead. It's not a problem. Do you want to bury this? Do you want this to just be enormous and an inconvenience for you?
حاجی من کلی به عنوان پلیر هود کلی انسان NPC انسانو میکنم تو دیوار سرشون بیرون باشه انگار تو دیوار گیر کردن گردنشون هر روز قطع میکنم.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. You can literally just put stuff in free floating space wherever the hell you feel like it. Number 3, creativity is everything, okay?
خلاقیت میگه همه چیزه. خلاقیت.
Items that are coming into WoW are designed with housing in mind, especially the dyeable ones, okay? Because if you haven't seen already, you can dye and change the color of some of the items. Not all, it's the new ones. And that is going to be the focus going forward, which we had confirmed with new assets coming into WoW. So they've got 2 problems they're dealing with. 1, a lot of the old items literally don't have like a bottom or a side on some of them because they were never going to be seen by the player, so why would you
پشماموجی نگاه کنین هم یه ذره کتابای الفی گذاشتن دیگ گذاشتن لانترن از کولتراس. واو چقدر دیتیل
while
داره.
they're putting a bottom into it, right? So some tankards and carpets and things like that just don't have an underneath. They were never going to be seen. So they are
اینجا نکن تو دیوارو
actively going back and adding stuff to that over time, and they pointed out that we get basically a push
خونه خالی ها بچه، خونه خالی میگیرید خودت میسازیش
every other day of brand new items that are being added to the library that have been fixed by the art team.
تک تک اینا یعنی چی باید بچینی، یعنی مثلا باید بسازی، مثلا خونه رو خودت میسازی.
New
اینو
item
فقط واسه تو همینجوری الکی همه رو گذاشتن فقط ببینی که مثلا داره میگه آرت زاندالاری، مثلا اینو میبینی این آرت تروله پشتش هم، یعنی مثلا تو میتونی مثلا خونه‌تو دیوارکوب ترولی کنی.
though are
اینجا یه چیز ترولیه.
all being designed with this in mind. That means that there's a new layer every time there's a big patch coming for World of Warcraft.
اوه شت، میگه پس هر پچی وارد ورلد اف وارکرافت بشه لایه‌های جدید و دیتای جدید به خونه اضافه میشه میکنن، یعنی همه چیز از تم و از همه چی ان پی سی و از asset و از لیوان کوچیک گرفته تا چیزای دیگه.
Evermore, this isn't going away. That means that if the next patch, based on the cutscene, and I'm not spoiling anything here, the cutscene is ethereal themed, you're going to get not only a new zone, awesome, new raid, awesome, but you're also going to get a bunch of new housing stuff because the assets for the new zone or whatever, if you think about how dense
میگه هر چیزی که توی رید دیزاین، طراحی رید و دانجن و اینا و داستان جدید به کار میبرن میسازن، همه اونا رو توی خونه هم به کار میبرن. واه یس.
underminers are going to be joining the housing system as well.
میگه مثلا تمام چیزایی که تو آندرماین هست، تمام چیزای گوبلینیه، دوست داری خونه شبیه گوبلینا باشه، تمامشو بساز.
So you're going to get that new layer forevermore, as long as, you know, if this works, which it should, there's just going to add, oh, cool, we're getting a new Murloc-themed or troll-themed place. That also means we're getting a whole bunch of new housing things to come along with it, right? So that then means the next issue. Number 4. How many items can you have? For those of you who definitely played Final Fantasy XIV, you will have probably come up against the item cap in a house very
خونه item cap داره مثل Final Fantasy 14
regularly. You can have a very limited amount of items.
تو Final Fantasy 14 لیمیتش خیلی کمه.
Means if you make
یعنی لیمیتش یعنی یه جوری که زیاد نمیتونی استفاده کنی.
Very dense room that's full of micro details and really tiny little things to give it that really nice depth and wonderful flavor you want to go for. The likelihood is you'll hit the item cap and you'll have to block off the rest of the house because that will have to be empty. You literally cannot put more items
مثلا یه نصف خونه رو باید کوچیک کنی چون نمیتونی اونجا وسیله بذاری.
into the house. That is not going to be a thing from what we can see in World of Warcraft at all. The item cap we got in the build we played with, which is not like the release candidate or anything, was 10.
داره میگی حاجی داره میگه توی آپارتمان فانال فانتزی 100 تا آیتمه، توی خونه کوچیک 200 تاست، توی خونه مدیوم 300 تا، توی فانال فانتزی 14 که رقیبه دیگه خونه بزرگ 400 تا آیتمه، توی وف 10,000 تا آیتم میتونی بذاری تو هاوسش.
10,000 items. The most dense buildings and rooms
10,000
and houses they have created internally, which involves, if all the marketing you've seen for housing is one house that Jay built. It's one house. All the shots you've seen of different themes, restaurants, all that kind of stuff is just one house. They have not gone past 2,000 items.
میگه کل این خونه رو میبینی، اسکرین شاتش فقط به ما نشون دادن، میگه واسه تست بعد به ما نشون میدن، کلش 2,000 تا آیتمه.
You can be immense, absolutely immense. This should not really be a thing. Now, having said that, there is a caveat to it. Everything we were able to build in our build meant that one item took up one slot of the 10,000, right? That's not probably going to be the case in the live version because not everything is made equal. If you want to put a 200-foot rotating giant windmill in your building, which you can do right now, we did that.
میتونی آسیاب بادی بکاری وسط خونه. یا علی استخر حاجی فکر کنم عجیب رویایی.
That will maybe take 5 slots, right? Whereas an undermined goblin pointing arrow that you attach to a wall will be 1. So they will vary that a little bit, but generally speaking, items will not be a limitation in doing this. Number 5. How hard is it to use? It is stupidly easy to use. Like
میگه انقدر آسون ساختنش. خیلی آدم منتقدی یا وقتی میگه خیلی آسونه پس اون پارس تزریقی با این مغز نداشتهش هم میتونه ادیت کنه.
To the point where the easy mode we didn't use because we defaulted to the advanced mode more than anything because we were rubbish with using the easy mode, which they came around and were like, everything you're trying to do right now in advanced mode, you could do very easily in the easy mode because you have snap mode where it will just like clip to things, and if you say put segments of a floor together to make a fountain area, it will go, oh, you're making a circle, we'll just clip it together, or you can detach it or whatever, so you can move the whole thing if you put several things together. You then have freeform mode, so you can just rotate it using the mouse wheel or whatever, you can do whatever you want to do, and then you have the advanced mode where you can change the shape, size of it, and individual rotations, and spin it, and do all kinds of things. You can actually do that with the easy mode, it's just that we were rubbish with that, and we just defaulted to the advanced mode, which was still really easy to use. That is totally fine. It's very, very simple to use. They've done a great job here. I was actually really surprised. There are some limitations based on the feedback we gave, which is going to be added to the game. Like, I want to make sure you understand that everything I'm talking to you about now has been directly fed back to them, and they're fully aware of it. So, such things as a quick...
If
you're building, like, Draknos built this very intense maze to get lost in, you're probably going to be using one piece of wall many, many times. So a hotbar to put that on, so I can just click that hotbar and keep going, because you can keybind everything that you're doing here.
کیبایند هم میتونی بسازی. میگم مثلا یه دیوار رو کپی پیست کنی بذاری رو کیبایند همینجوری بکاریش رو زمین تا یه 1000 تو درست کنی.
Which is great. I rebound all my keys to housing very quickly, and it worked out super well. Is you probably want that on a hotbar and a favorites list. That's all coming into the game. One thing that is missing right now that they're working on is a history mode.
یه بخش هیستوری دارن روش کار میکنن. یعنی چی؟ یه خونه رو مثلا برگردون به دیفالت.
About that later in the limitations. But generally speaking, cloning is more difficult. So if you make, let's say you make a very custom thing. So one example, I made this view through a window, which is a very common thing to do in housing. Where I took a piece.
میگه مثال کنین من همچین ویندوی درست کنم، پنجره درست کنم، خیلی پنجره خیلی چیز عادی.
Wall, I then like scaled it to a certain way to get a piece of the wall, and then I buried that wall into the floor so that I could create this window outlet that was the right size for my character.
داره میگه دیوار درست کردم توش، بعد این پنجره درست کردم، بعد بعدش ویو درست. Okay.
All that kind of stuff took very specific measurements. I can't then clone that piece to say I want the window to be twice as wide. So I want to clone that and do it again.
میگه کپی پیست کنی همینی که ساختی دوباره برداری یه جای دیگه بزنی.
That's a limitation they're working.
میگه این یه محدودیه که فعلا دارن روش کار میکنن که مثلا میگه یه سازه عظیمو درست کردی همون رو برداری یه جای دیگه دوباره باز بزنیش کپی پیستش کنی. میگه این محدودیته. خب بعد یعنی کپی پیستش نمیتونی بکنی بعد دوباره بسازیش.
And a history mode to go back through various changes that you made. They want to check.
میگه history mode واسه همین میره توی برمیگرده به چیزایی که از قبل ساختی.
That is a technical issue that they're trying to resolve for that, but at the same time it's not a mega inconvenience because all the information is given to you very easily. All the degrees are listed numerically, so you can just easily copy them, as well as the scaling numbers. So it's a minor inconvenience.
میگه ولی مثلا درجه و اینا رو میتونی کپی کنی، سایزش اینا رو بزنی کپی کنی رو بعدی بزنی.
Nice to have for those kinds of things that you want to have. Number 6 then, performance. You're probably worried about performance, right? Fine. Like, actually,
performances.
Really, really fine. You've got to think about it. This is actually not going... It's no different than a building in WoW without the rest of the outside world loaded either. There's a lot of things in there. I will say, I'm not going to mention any names. Some people did try to crash it by filling the 10,000 slots and didn't manage it. They've tried. They tried to lag it by making the most ridiculous things you could possibly imagine. Let's put it this way. If your game runs okay in the open world, you're going to be absolutely fine.
اگه دنیاتون توی فضای آزاد دنیا اوکیه اینجا هم اوکیه.
Fine, and if you want to try, I have no doubt somebody will be able to lag this game out. Of course they will, or create some sort of glitchy issue within this. But it's going to be an uphill battle that you're going to be trying to force to happen, right? That's going to be the thing that's going to happen there. Okay, those are the general things outside of what you've seen in announcements. Obviously, I'm looking at this with you have some preface knowledge. So, at the beginning of my day, within the first hour when the devs were hanging out with us, I was like, "You've opened this." The word of the thing I said was, "This is Pandora's box," and that then became like the word of the day. It's Pandora's box. There's already way more creativity and freedom than I expected from.
میگه از اون چیزی که فکر میکردم توش خلاقیت و آزادی بیشتر داره.
The first version of housing. And the problem you have now, which I think we all ran into, is you start having really grand ideas about things that you want that aren't there yet, like ridiculous things, because you have this whole massive template in front of you and you want to fulfill more insanity. You just want more and more things to do with it. Like, I want mega spotlights to create crazy shadows and things, and they're like, yep, that's coming, we're totally working on that. And now I want like tailored music. Can I get music to like be in this zone of the room, and then the music shifts here so I can almost tell a story, because I can predict this like horror theme
مثلا خونه رو یه جای ترسناک بسازم با موزیک ترسناک
place where I want somebody to see something in a corridor and then the music shifts and they're like, yep, we're working.
مثلا تو راهرو یه موزیک پخش بشه، جای دیگه موزیک میگه داریم روش کار میکنیم.
On that, all those kind of things. But that's
خونه من اگه بیان خونه بوی دناسریوس و کسل ناسریا میده، به خونه دراکولا خوش اومدید، دراکولا وارلاک.
Their issue they're going to run into, so I'm going to move into limitations and things now.
Again,
to reiterate everything I'm about to tell you, we have already fed back to the devs and they're
هر چیزی میخوام بهتون بگم already به دیولپرها گفتیم و باهاشون صحبت کردیم، گفتن داریم روش کار میکنیم، دارن بهش نگاه میکنیم.
Be under no illusion, everything I'm talking about right now is one of like infinite avenues that Blizzard now has to explore over the next 10 years. So number one, import export, all right? Not, let's face facts, most of us, especially me, are not creative geniuses when it comes to housing. And actually just creating, I don't have the patience to do the many detail. But there are those people out there, and this opens a whole...
میگه شاید بشه که میگه این اکسسیبیلیتی بشه که مال بقیه رو کپی کنی. به نظر من این کار نکنه بلیزارد بهتره. مردم مجبورشن.
You're opening the possibility of account sharing because you want those people to come and do your house. Hell, we do this not with account sharing, is we commission people and they build things in properties they have access to for us, be that for the Race to World First, if we're doing an FF14 Race to World First, or for our parties and themed parties that we want to do. We have commissioned artists who go out and create these properties for us, and they're phenomenal, right? These builders are absolutely phenomenal. Similar to what we have already in WoW with loadouts and talents and things, import-export is a massive deal for me. One, you want to curb any possibility of account sharing whatsoever. Or you want to be able to give moderation rights to another player to say like you are the
میگه که به یکی گولد بدی و حق اینو بهش بدی که دکوریت کنه خونت واسط. خیلی باحاله. اگه مثلا اسیست بهش میدی.
S-Fand actually a really good point here. It's like when in Classic somebody gets the recipe of say Lionheart Helm, that's the Lionheart Helm guy and you want to speak.
مثلا کسی که رسیپی مثلا یه چیزو تو کلاسیک میگیره ما همه اونو به اون میشناسیم که اون آدمه.
To that guy and get them involved. That is going to happen with housing with these very creative people and gives a whole new lease on life for the game.
WTS فارم دکور حاجی وارویدین هم دکوراسیون سطح خونه‌تو میترکونم. دکور دستشویی میخوای شبیه طلا باشه؟ خونه خودتو به من بسپر حاجی. Let's go.
Is you want them to either be able to come in and work on your property, right? Or you want creators, new fresh YouTubers and streamers and things who build these magnificent things and are then able to upload it and share it so that you're curbing that. And also people can have wonderful, glorious houses that they just not are creatively inclined or have the patience all the time to invest in and to share in what those guys create. So that would be a huge plus. If you've ever played Path of Exile, you'll know this is a huge thing. People create these wonderful and also, you know, outlandish housing arts to do things with. 2, longevity. This is a big concern of mine. Dead neighborhoods are a very real thing. Especially in FF14, everybody
توی فانتزی ما نیبرهود هم محله تاون خودمون داریم بگه بعضی دده.
He wants a house. Everybody can get a house and wow, it's far easier than ever to get a house. Everybody has access to one. And then the internals of the house are completely untouched. They have the house, they have their plots, and then they don't do anything with it. And
میگه مثلا میگه کسایی که خونه رو میگیرن ولی هیچ کاری باش نمیکنن. خالی.
Enormous percentage of houses are just bare empty inside. Now, this is where the neighborhoods are going to come in because
اینجا محله ها باید قضیه.
You'll know how it feels, right? You will be very excited week 1 to come into it, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna leave it alone now, right? You don't want that to happen. So neighborhoods are something they weren't able to publicly, I'm dancing around it here, tell us much about. It's what I'll say, because they're not ready to give detail on that. However, we were with the neighbor.
خدا قسم احساس میکنم میخوان میگه نمیتونم بهتون بگم، میگه ولی احساس میکنم حاجی من فکر میکنم وایس میذارن، به خدا وایس بذارن همه من خودم یه اورک میشم، میشینیم با هم تو خونه من چلو کباب میخوریم حاجی، چلو کباب.
It's what I'll say, because they're not ready to give detail on that. However, we were with the neighborhood lead Toby, who was I'll say this for the public viewing, nudge us in the direction that they're going with this. So they were very clear. We do not want housing to be something that's like bolted onto the game, and that's a separate feature of the game. So you have World of
میگه ما نمیخوایم یه چیز جدا از گیم باشه، مثلا وو اینجاست، هاوسینگ اونجاست.
Warkraft, and then you have WoW housing. It's kind of got this distinct line between it, and that's where neighborhoods will come in.
اینجا یه جوریه که محله‌ها وارد عمل میشه.
They're giving you like low 50s, so they weren't specific. It's like 50 to 55 depending. Housing slots, which should be more than large enough for a good active guild. Obviously, if you're in a crazy cesspool guild with like hundreds and hundreds of just nameless people in there, that's not quite big enough. Have multiple neighborhoods. But for, you know, the vast majority of active interactive guilds, that will be fine. But they're going to be holding events there. Seasonal events and things like that will be happening. Outside construction will be going on. And hopefully the activity to create events will be a big deal in order to incentivize you actually going back there. So this isn't, say, Siren Isle. I go, I get my ring, and I just leave, and I never go back there again unless I want some pets or something like that. That's not what they're going for here, because that is a real issue in other games where housing is a separate game. 14 would be an example of that. And if you're not into it, you just never see it again. I have a house because I got the achievement. You have a house, right? Number 3. So return. Number 3 then would be return visits. Coming back to this, if you go and try and do what you can, they're going to have a progression system, right? So let's say week 1. This is another big concern of mine that I made them aware of, and they're working to make sure this doesn't happen. Is that they will have some sort of progression system, right? I got to play, as the rest of us did, with basically a fully unlocked housing system. However, if this system comes in, and week 1 I am that super hype guy, and I've got all these ideas, I go to my house, and I obviously, depending on what your past history with the game is, it's going to unlock a bunch of stuff for you immediately if you've got achievements and things that'll go, oh, you already did this, so it's just unlocked for you. But you will have limitations.
ولی چقدر چیز خفنیه بازی پلیرها فقط برن اشغال کنن تو دنیا این ور اون ور همه شما واسه دکور.
So you want to build this crazy jumping puzzle that's going to be like 6 stories high. It's going to have a connecting bridge across the middle that connects to something else. And you've got this huge idea. However, you go week 1 and you're kind of limited to floor 2 and maybe like 4 rooms. And you're like, oh, okay. And it's not until you get to like progression track 5 to get more things, but by the time you hit that, you've kind of lost interest. That excitement has dwindled away, and you just can't be bothered, right? It's kind of just fallen into, oh, okay, well, I've unlocked it, I'll go and check that weekend maybe, or anything like that. That is a real problem that I don't want them to run into. People should be able to do some pretty amazing things day 1. I think that's a vital part of this. They're aware of it. They're going to do stuff to incentivize you there. I want to be clear on this though. If you don't want to engage with housing, they were very clear on this, then you don't have to, right? They want to incentivize you going back and investigating your neighborhoods and going seeing it, so it's not unfamiliar, it's not a forgotten part of the game. This is evergreen. This is something that's going to be here forevermore. But if you were like, I hate housing, sure, that's fine. That's your prerogative. Then you won't have to deal with it in any way. So they're not going to tie it to anything. Number 4, utility. Oh my god. There were a couple of, I'm not mentioning names, but a couple of young creators there who were not there during the Garrison days.
Okay.
I was really lucky in the, I don't know if they're releasing any of the pictures because they took a lot of us during these round. We literally had a bunch of chairs in a circle where we were all shooting back and forth. I was sat next to Paul Cubitt. That name might not mean anything to you, but it should. Paul's been there forever. I interviewed him back when I went to visit the campus. This guy is a creative genius, responsible for a lot of cool things in World of Warcraft. And some of the younger creators who were there were like, what about utility? What can we have, like, an auction house? Come here. And I was like, oh, no. It's happening again. No. I turned to Paul and I went, the sins of the father, and he looked at me and he went, and it was nice to see the devs were like, look, we're not saying no, and I will give massive shouts here to Zeppler, a big FF14 creator, who was very clear on a good suggestion that the devs were like, that's a really good idea. So the idea of mining and herbing came up because wouldn't it make sense that the neighborhood has like a garden that can get the herbs and things like that? And I was like, oh no, it's happening all over again. But then we had good suggestions like, well, what if there is gardens and things, but the things you're growing there are actually to unlock housing things?
چیزایی مثلا باغایی که میسازی یا چیزی که داره باش میشه باز هاوسینگ.
That makes total sense. That is totally fine because what we can do here is add in profession items where there are specialists who can build very specific items, and that uses like the neighborhood system and all that kind of stuff to create those things which other people might not engage with, and then be able to commission, you know, things to go in the auction house and things like that in the cities. They didn't say no to everything. Like, it does make sense that there's some sort of mailbox or something like that available in the neighborhoods. That fits, but they're very wary of adding utility in any form to this that actually is like progression utility to the outside game, because if you weren't there during WoD and you're not sure why my heart skips a beat whenever this comes up, garrisons had utility and function in them. They had a mine, they had a herb garden. It meant there was no reason to go out into the world at all, because you could daily collect everything you would ever need for your flasks, potions, your self-fulfilling prophecy, and when you had alts, you could cover every profession in the game without ever leaving your base. And it was instant stuff. It just killed the world. Like, you don't want that at all. Next one is acceptance of this. This is going to be an interesting journey for WoW players. Roleplay in particular. Again, this is why Pandora's box kept coming up. Roleplay has been looked down upon by a lot of WoW players, despite the fact that roleplay servers are a huge thing. And roleplay has existed forever in World of Warcraft, right? And I...
بلیزارد باید یه آپدیت بزرگ واسه RP بکنه. من اونها که چقدر حال میده تو فاینال فانتزیه. من امیدوارم بلیزارد وایس با مثل ادانز که به اسمش از وایس پراکسیمیتی که گیل اونلی فنگز داره توی کلاسیک، امیدوارم همچین چیزی اضافه کنم.
You know, from my experience where housing is already a thing, is this opens the doors to infinite possibilities of what's going to be happening within the game that they need to be aware of. Some of it was a bit extreme, that they were like, really? I'm like, yeah, like traveling casinos, right? Gambling is a big no-no in World of Warcraft, but you're going to have traveling casinos because players figured out a long time ago how to have active gambling within the game, especially with trustworthy organizations, which are now going to be a thing in World of Warcraft. You're going to know the proper Gallywix Casino Discord, and these guys will turn up and they will provide bars and they will provide various different gambling games that can be played without any of the utility of the game itself between players. They can play blackjack together and all this kind of stuff with /roll, and all these kind of things have been done before. You're going to have that. You're going to have strip clubs, right? You think Goldshire is bad, and some people go, strip clubs. Like, dude, this is already in the game in a long way. Check out Drama Time on Friday. This already exists in a huge way.
مثلا فرض کن یکی RP مثلا خونه رو شبیه استریپ کلاب بسازه.
And now you're going to have organized ones, like genuinely organized ones with proper parties and things going on. That is absolutely going to happen. But on the less degenerate side, you're going to have things like the DJ population, which you guys probably don't even know about. There is a huge amount of live venue DJs.
میگه یارو تو دنیا واقعی موزیک میزنه اینور تو فاینال فانتزی پخش میشه.
That are extraordinary, right? I think of names like Miu Fei, DJ Cyborg, all these people who have regularly DJ'd parties in FF and spin off like remixes of the soundtracks and things like that to the game in a wonderful way and help host parties. These are now going to be an act.
MMO یعنی این بچه‌ها. این MMO به معنای میتیک رید رفتن و میتیک پلاس دادن نیست. این MMO نه کاری که ما میکنیم باور کنید.
Thing in World of Warcraft because they'll have venues to go to and people will be able to attend.
Role play یعنی نقش آفرینی.
This is something I'm
MMORPG.
super excited for because I was skeptical like many of you are as to how this actually plays out because you always think it's cringe and people just ERPing all over the place. But like that's not the case at all. And I know you don't believe me, but when you visit these things, and I encourage you to do, you'll be like, oh, that's not what this is. This is actually something really different and a lot of people having fun and more importantly, player-made events.
پلیرها ایونت بسازن، پلیرها با هم دعوا میکنن، دوست میشن، صحبت میکنن، آرپی میکنن، خوش میگذرونن، وایس رو اضافه کنه، همین کارهای موزیک و اینا هم بتونه اضافه کنه، دست پلیر رو باز بکنه، به جان مادرم منفجر میشه. ورلد اف وارکرافت منفجر میشه. جیت آرپی واسهتون میکنم، آرپی توی خودم کونه سرباز. سلام، من یک سرباز خستم از کوههای آن سوی استون ویند اومدم. حاجی عشق و غلاف.
This is the evergreen content that you want in your MMO because this opens the door for the social elements.
مهم اینه که ورلد اف وارکرافت سوشال المنتش الان کم شده. با این قضیه سوشال المنتش میره تو آسمون.
That World of Warcraft specifically has lacked for a really long time.
بله.
Amazing and innocuous names and people being changed from their name to rogue or mage or whatever. The resistance is going to be there for this, but ultimately if it's handled well and it's encouraged and Blizzard supports these kinds of events and publicizes major ones, then this is going to be an immense addition to the game. There's so much more that I want to talk about with you guys, but I want to keep it as short as possible, so we'll have the full interview over on our second channel like I mentioned earlier. It was really nice that they stopped a lot of the feedback to say, this is great, all the positive, we want the negative, where are you running into issues? And we gave a lot, especially on like UI interactions, search criteria, all this kind of stuff. We really looked at everything. Basically, if you can think of it, they've thought about it and are working on it, but they're working on Pandora's box. Every single person who plays with housing is going to want something else. And that's going to be coming. It's going to take time. This is years and years of work. But for a starting point,
بله واقعیتشه دیگه. او شت یه چند تا اسکرین شات داره بهمون نشون میده. حالات این داشون هم ببینیم آجی. حتی فکر کنم خیلی طولانی باشه.
My name is Ratnos and today we have a company got to test it out. It was super sick. Very cool. And I'll tell you more about my thoughts on that. We also got a dev interview which I teamed up with Preach to record a dev interview. So that'll go on his channel. There may have been some audio issues. They're trying to figure that out. So hopefully it ends up turning out okay. When it was a test that we did, we were just inside. The way it works is that houses are instanced and the neighborhoods are instanced. And the neighborhoods are like persistent. So, I mean, this has been in their posts already, but if you're in a certain neighborhood with certain neighbors, you will stay in that neighborhood with those neighbors. And the inside. And the inside doesn't have to match the outside. They can be, you can go inside like a house.
داخل با بیرون میتونه مچ نباشه.
Just have a huge tower inside, although not that bust tool. In the river.
Chat. حاجی چه باله.
People walking by and waving at each other. There's another person's house. Let's see what else we've got going on in this footage, because I think we're going to get to go inside soon. But yeah, you can decorate the outside to look kind of however you like. So here's an outside house decorated. We didn't actually, again, get our hands on this, but these are like decorations, these vines and stuff. All the kind of doodads you can see. Make your house look however you want to go. Of the inside that I built, which are not as pretty as the insides that they built, but here you can see the inside of like this tavern thing that they've got going on, and like all of this we could do with the with what they gave us, right? Which was turn on it of light.
Okay.
But this was a very later. But what a lot of these footage that you're going to see here, what they did is they made the walls look different by just sticking stuff in front of them. So they just put these bookshelves in front of those walls, and you can see the bookshelves actually have different books in them. Like here, there's a into the wall, and then move to the bottom thing. That's a little bit more
Beliزارد is cooking, Haji.
Some of these drapes over that.
Beliزارد is cooking. Video highlight. Highlightشو میخونیم. بله. کاستمایزیشن بله همشون همونه، همون حرفایی که پریشم زد. میتونی پازل روم بسازی، میتونی اصلا پری هاوسینگ میگه پری پچ میدنایت و اینا میادش. اوکی. اسدای میگه اسطای اکسپنشن های قدیم رو سعی میکنن واردش بکنن. بعد این چیه؟ جامپ پازل، نایت elf اینتریتور. او که نکن میدونی شبیه نایت elf ساخته ستونه خونه رو. بلاد elf اینتریتور. او شیت حاجی، پس خیلی کاستومایز و ماستومایزش عظیمه. یا امام دوم. او تالیاسن هم بازی کرده. او چقدر آدم رفتن. پریر هاوسینگ اسکرین شات. چند تا اسکرین شات ها رو با هم دیگه ببینیم. موزیک بازی هم فعال کنم. اینا رو دیدیم. این همون چیزایی که پریچ هم سعی کرد به ما نشون بده. بیشتر از اینو نذاشتن. شما چی فکر میکنیم؟ به نظرم تالیاسن هم آجی رفته تست کرده. ویدیو تالیاسن رو باید ببینیم. جیزز. فقط بزنیم هایلایت ها رو سریع بخونیم. هایلایت ها میگه کلی هنوز اینفورمیشن رو به ما نگفتن. بلیزارد ممال فیدبک فلان فلان فلان. بیرون خونه هم میشه دکورش کرد. بله اینا رو میدونیم. هر آیتم جدیدی که وارد میشه برای دیزاین هم استفاده میشه. پچ ها بله اینا هم که توضیح دادن. این همه حرفای پریچ رو در واقع خلاصه هایلایتش کرده. خیلی خوب اینا همه رو دیدیم. شما چی فکر میکنین بچه‌ها؟ به من بگید. من که واقعا مخاطرش مشتاقم. فقط میگم امیدوارم بلیزارد آرپیشو بیشتر کنه و قوی‌تر کنه که این رول پلی بازی آتیش بگیره. سوشال، بخش سوشال بازی، سوشال اینتراکشن بازی هر چقدر قوی‌تر باشه وو جذاب‌تره. اینو یادتون باشه. MMORPG بازی ای اسپورت نیست، بازی نقش آفرینی آنلاین در فضای آزاد جهانی با پلیرهای دیگه است. اسمش روشه و وو قبلا اینجوری بود، ولی الان میتونه یه بیگ پوش بکنه و وقتشه که این کار رو بکنه. این نظر من.